This is the Golf Ball Dispenser Pro and everything you'll need to make it. Shout out to Christopher.jh on MakerWorld for the awesome design. I'll link the design and his Buy Me a Coffee page in the description, because if you become a member, you get an exclusive funnel design. We'll get into that later. The Golf Ball Dispenser Pro comes with 10 different parts, and you'll need a sacrificial golf ball. We have the main golf ball tower, and the first thing you're gonna wanna do is get the pusher, and it's very important that this goes in smoothly and freely. This is actually my second take trying to film this, because as you see, I did a lot of sanding on these parts, many hours of sanding, and that took up all the first take's footage. So we're back again for a second round. So this, the pusher. Christopher is very good at making the parts fit only one way. So you'll see it's kind of an L shape. So that take that L, drop it into there. That's exactly how it should go in. You should not have to force it at all. When I first printed my parts, I was really jamming it in there, and it's not gonna work if it's not smooth. So make sure it just drops in. The next part with the pedal, you want the little fin part pointed up, and on the inside, imagine this being dropped into the tower. This here is what rotates the pusher up and down, which will release the golf ball. Once that's dropped in, then this pedal goes into here. It needs to engage with that peg. You'll know if it's not quite engaged because it shouldn't pop out like that. There we go. So now it's in there. It's only supposed to go up maybe an inch, like that. I'll actually take this back out just to explain this other part. So there's also this circle here on the inside where this peg is supposed to go into the circle, and then this is supposed to engage here, and that is what it rotates on this axis and goes up and down. I sanded this down. I did everything in my power. I mean, at first it wasn't even engaging and going into this slot. I could not get it to work. So I actually redesigned a much simpler version. The peg goes into the hole, and then this just rotates on here. There's a slight larger radius at the end that kind of press fits into the same hole that this other piece uses. So it's very similar and just a little bit simplified. Instead of trying to deal with engaging with these angles, I just made it a simple kind of rod concept where it just goes down and then goes here. Looking at the comments, I think a lot of people are having the same problem that I did, and maybe I'll upload the file that I'm using for this part. Getting this back in here with the pedal, this goes up and down, and so then you push the pedal up to give space for the axle, and then the pedal just rests on that axle, and you should be able to freely click on it, get the pusher up, and then it should go back to the same spot. So that was the problem with the original part in the design. I could get it to go up, and then it just wouldn't reset on its own. So now it's going up and very easily resets. That's what worked for me. Maybe other people are able to get this to work. So now with the sacrificial golf ball, I have a Dunlop Loco. And so you got these two parts that go together, and that's what sandwiches the golf ball in between that, like that. And so this is going to give the weight to actually dropping the ball, and then how it gets reset to the upward position. And so now that the golf ball is in there, then once again, Christopher, really solid design. This can only go in one way. It's, rather than this being a square where it could be all sorts of ways, it's hexagonal on the top. So this just pushes in like that, and then there's a little nut that's 3D printed to get these together. There's also a wrench that you could 3D print that helps get this tightened down. But once you just got to find those threads a little bit, and then it'll start tightening down. So that tightens down. You can mostly just hand tighten it. Should probably be enough. I'll give it a little tightening. That's where the 3D printed wrench would come in handy, because it's kind of hard to get my big wrench in the spot. That's not going anywhere, and that is what rotates to drop the ball. And so then that's where this little stopper piece comes in handy. There's another little slot here that it goes into. So that just pushes down. So the stopper goes in right here. Then there's just a cradle kind of spot where this goes into. With that, the weight of the golf ball, it should stay upright. And then once it drops down, that's where the stopper is important, or else it would just continue to rotate farther down. Before we get into putting the twister garage on top, you can check to make sure everything is functioning. That'll push it out and dispense the golf ball. So really awesome design. And of course, if you're trying to practice and hit multiple golf balls at a time, you want a little storage funnel. And so I had to do a little sanding on this part as well, but there's a little slot on the end here that it slides into. And there you go. With this part of the design, you can load them up and they'll spin around. As you can tell though, I had to kind of delicately place them on the top, and then they get into their slots and find their resting position. And so then they'll just, you can just hit this as many times as you want, dispense the golf balls. To avoid delicately placing them on the garage, that's where the funnel early access buy me a coffee member design comes in handy. So this has the same lines as this edge piece of the garage, and this just slides on top and presses down. Here we go. So everything lines up. You see this is resting here, all this, and the center part is connected to a middle support of the garage. So now you can kind of just like toss them in and they'll find their spot. So as I'm practicing, I'll hit the golf balls and then collect them with this, and this funnel on top will help so that I can just pour them in and not be as delicate placing them into the garage. There you go. So that is the Golf Ball Dispenser Pro. Thanks again to Christopher.jh on Maker World. I'm really excited to start practicing with this, to practice my short game in the backyard, and I might even take it to the range. I don't know, we'll see.